Hey, 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 I'm Michelle.
And I'm Greta.
We are girlfriends who have always been seekers. We love learning, sharing, and most of all, we love having those soul-to-soul moments with our girlfriends.
Our podcast is about spiritual connection and sisterhood. You are not alone. So grab your glass, get comfy, and join us as we make some noise, light up the room, and
get into it.
Well, hello, Petia. Thank you so much for coming on That's My Girl podcast. And especially with you being very pregnant, about to deliver so soon here, we are fortunate to be talking to you today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me and for creating the space. I just love what you're creating with your show and really sharing the depths of the story so each and every person can really connect on a deeper level. So I feel really honored to be here.
Well, we're very excited. And so we thought we'd kick it off by maybe if you can give us a little introduction about who you are and what it is that you're doing in your world, because it definitely aligns with a lot of what we're also doing.
I love that question. And it's so interesting, like looking where I am today, I would never picture it, like living in the United States. I'm a girl who comes from very small town, from very small country, hence the accent and unpronounceable name, from Czech Republic. And now looking at my life, right now we're in Las Vegas. So living in our dream home with my husband, expecting our baby girl and having a beautiful business that it's really empowering and impacting women to walk in their truth, walk in their purpose, and being abundantly paid is something that I never imagined because, growing up, I was growing up in thinking like, who the heck I am? Like nobody would listen. Nobody would care. I was able to turn that around in how I can now empower other women. It's very life-giving because I know that each and every one of us, it's so unique and we have a unique story and unique way of being, but I'm not that special to say like, hey, this is just, for me to do these things. So it's really beautiful to see how I can walk in my purpose and empower other women to do the same. Because if I can do it, anyone can do it if you have that devotion and willingness to grow and sometimes get uncomfortable.
I love that. I love that you're saying it's not just for me, it's for all. Anyone can have it. There's not this lack mentality. What was it for you? What turned things around where you said like, no, I'm going to recreate my life and rewrite those messages maybe you got when you were younger?
So fascinating. I feel like it was like, how there are like the drops they're adding into your glass and it just keeps filling up. And I feel like there was a few moments like in my life that really define of the directions that I was taking in my life. And one of them was when I was 18, I attempted suicide because I was thinking that if this is life, I really don't want to live it. It was mentally and physically abused by my stepfather, run away into toxic relationship. That was different places, but like same feelings and same results. So when I was 18, I feel like that was the first time that really shook me that something has to really change because I was seeing the patterns in me and in my family and in women, like in our lineage, how we are people pleasing, how we are not showing up for ourselves, and even like not speaking your truth, not being able to express yourself. And I didn't want to live like that. So that was like the first wake up call when I started to see myself a little bit differently, like something has to change. But it took me another decade of trial and error and a lot of errors to really step into something has to change. And that something has to be me. Because up until that point, I was outsourcing my worthiness, outsourcing my happiness, always looking outside of me and trying to be everything for everyone without ever listening to myself. So when I was around 28 and 29, I was really very deeply battling with eating disorder for almost 2 decades. I started eating disorder when I was 11 years. And so when I was almost 30, I was so physically, emotionally tired. I was married to a man who was cheating on me, who was narcissistic, and everybody on the outside thought how perfect couple we are. What a perfect life I have because I work in a corporate, because I did fitness competitions, because I had a handsome husband. And I felt so much shame and guilt inside of me that I just didn't know how to carry with it. Like every single day, it was just going through the motions and I couldn't see the way out. And back then, thankfully, I started to research, and this is, over a decade ago now. It seems like everything goes in my life in decades, almost a decade ago when I started to look for help, like how to overcome eating disorder, how to feel happy, how to leave your partner. And I was just asking Uncle Google, but thankfully,
Wow.
I found on YouTube videos from Louise Hay, and that really brought so much help. And she gave me the thing that I needed the most in the moment, and that was the hope. Just having the hope that life can get better, having the hope that no matter how challenging your past was, your future can be different. And, thanks to her and her Hay House Radio and Hay House Publishing, I discovered other people like Gabby Bernstein, Dr. Joe Dispenza, Dr. Wayne Dyer, later Tony Robbins. And they became my, I want to say like brainwashing mentors, because I had so many negative thoughts in my mind that I just needed something and someone to tell me it can get better. And that's what really helped me to start shifting.
So what I find is so powerful about this is that you basically, it was like your inner self was so powerful that a lot of the work, it sounds like you did on your own. Like you reached for resources, but all these people that you're describing are definitely, the inspirational leaders of our different ways of thinking and really working with the subconscious mind and all of that. But like, this wasn't you even, it's funny because you said, I used to outsource, for things, but this sounds like it was such an internal job. You found the resources, but then you were the one that did it all.
She did the work. Yeah. Yeah. You can listen to those people all damn day, but if you don't do the work.
Right.
And you clearly were like, this isn't working. You tried this, and then you just kept evolving, which is so admirable.
Thank you so much. And I feel like each and every one of us, we are getting these breadcrumbs along the journey, but are you really listening? Like even today, I made a post on Instagram and I said, like, the universe is always talking to you, but are you listening? And I feel like deep inside, I always knew I'm meant for more. Deep inside, I knew there must be more to life than just struggling and working hard and fighting. I was looking outside. I'm like, I can't believe that everyone would feel this way. So that was like that, like you said, the inner knowingness, the inner, like we all have it, but so often we disconnect from that inner knowingness, that intuition, that guidance. So I feel like it's so important to go back to that, no matter where you are on your journey.
Yeah.
Going back to yourself and knowing who you are, knowing what is your own truth without the conditioning, without all the voices on the outside, then you will be always guided to the best next step.
Yeah, don't you think that we come here knowing this, like our soul knows how sacred and magnificent we are, and then the world tells us we're something other than that. And it's like we have to uncover and do the work to find that again.
I absolutely love what you're saying, and I so deeply believe in that. I believe that our soul they know what they're going into. They have the intention, they have the purpose, they know what we want to be experiencing here. And I don't believe it's like set and done and this is a fate. I believe that we sign up like this lifetime, I want to experience forgiveness or compassion or love or generosity or being humble. So we sign up for that. And then life will be unfolding in different directions. And it's up to you if you want to go through struggle or if you want to go through path of least resistance.
Mhm.
And I do believe that our souls choose everyone, like everyone on our path, like our parents, our kids, our experiences. It's chosen, but it's not set in stone. Like we have the free will, right? And I
Mhm.
feel like we know, but you come here and you forget everything.
Yeah.
But it's so fascinating. I feel like when we come here as a kids, and I feel like I'm so much more tapped in now, like being pregnant,
Mm.
I was interviewed on a different podcast, and this lady, she's like talking about like empowering girls, like little girls and teenagers. And she has two little daughters. And she said when they came, they had so much knowledge and wisdom, and they were saying things like out of this world. Like one of her baby girl, like she told her, like, I came here before, but it wasn't the right time. She had a miscarriage before, and then she was also saying, like, God is not she or he, it's just here, it's everything. Like kids don't, like, of course kids have very wild imagination. I was one of them, picking up everything and all the stories. And I feel like you said, our souls know when we come here, we know. And then we are getting conditioned. Oh, you shouldn't do this. Don't be too loud. Don't do this. And it's just the limitations from the outside world and conditioning. So I feel like it's so important. Again, come back to yourself, come back home.
Mhm.
Yeah. And I think as a mother, especially, like that's so much of our job is to nurture these gifts that we see these little souls come into the world with, and understanding, like, yes, there's etiquettes in life. Like, you can't just go to a restaurant and get crazy, right? Like respect the people and all of that. But there are those souls that come in, and the intuition is just so powerful. And so how do you really nurture that in a world that tries to box everything up? And I think it's so beautiful that you're sitting here talking to us about all this, and yet life is inside of you, like not just your life, but this baby that you're creating. And so however those cycles of what you've experienced in your past get to now be broken, and you get to create, and so this little being, what does this baby have to teach you even, right?
Yeah.
It's going to blow your mind even more.
Yeah, they definitely come to teach us. And you broke that cycle of trauma.
And
It's baby girl, right?
Yes. Bringing another lady into this world. And I feel that even before so I'm 39 right now. And, this is our first baby coming onto the earth side, because last year we experienced miscarriage with our twins. So
wow.
I feel like I have consciously waited for, the perfect soul to come through. But I was never like a motherly type. I always say, like, I love puppies, but I was never drawn into like strollers with the babies. And my dream, like every woman is different, but it was never my like dream. Like I want to be mother, and I feel like it's that energy of mothering and knowing that came even before our babies come, because I felt that heaviness of ancestral trauma, of how women were treated in the past. And I was not willing to be in relationship or have kids just to have them, because I saw what impact it had on my grandma, what impact it had on my mother. And so I was very conscious, and me and my husband, we, consciously conceive our babies, all of them. We have 2 spirit babies, 2 little angels, and our baby girl who is coming in August. But it was very conscious, because I knew that I am here to change it. And I feel like so many women, and you including, you came here to do things differently than your parents and grandparents, and paving the new way. And it is a big responsibility, but it's also very exciting to know, like having that deep knowingness, no more, here it stops. My daughter, it's not going to be an abusive, toxic relationship. She's not going to be abandoned by her father. she's going to be in a loving, conscious environment. I'm not saying we are perfect. Of course, no one is. And we are very intentional and we are very conscious. And I don't know about your parents, but my parents or grandparents, they were definitely not intentional or conscious. They did the best they could. And I love them to life. And I feel like we came here with more baggage than the kids nowadays who are coming through are willing to come with.
Mm-hmm. And how incredible that you did the work and that how divine that you're bringing baby girl into the world. And it's just like this full circle moment for you.
Yeah,
it's beautiful.
It definitely feels like that. And it's really interesting because I feel like the desire to have kids was ignited only because of my grandma. Like, I love my mom and I was always closer to my grandma. I always saw and felt with my grandma like my soulmate. There was always this deep connection. And because of how much love I felt for her and how I always wanted it to last forever, I wanted to experience that and I wanted to give that, but because of my grandma. So like you said, I love that it's like whole full circle. Like my husband, he was like, when I got pregnant, he's like, oh, it's going to be a boy. I was like, I don't think so. I think I'm
You felt it.
Yeah, I felt it felt different, like my first pregnancy, I could feel like the boy. And, then we find out we had twins. We never discover, their gender, but I just, it was different energy. And so that feminine and bringing in the full circle and bringing in a different possibility, it's so inspiring to me because I feel like through the feminine lineage, and of course, like men have their purpose. Of course, they're bringing beautiful, sacred, masculine to health space for us so we can expand.
Yes.
For me personally, I feel like it's such a beautiful moment knowing I'm bringing another female who can embody and live in that wholeness and knowingness that I never did.
Yeah. Yes, but you did something even more powerful, which is bring her into the world and give her a safe space to grow and elevate the rest of the people in the world.
Yes, thank you. I received that.
So let me ask you this. What were some of your favorite practices that you did, whether it was Louise Hay or any of the other people that you mentioned, but what were some of the things that you felt like, oh, this really, really helped me? I always love giving listeners practical tools to walk away with. So I'm just curious, what was it for you? Some of your favorites.
Absolutely. I feel like there are so many, like you said, that's why you're very wisely saying some of your favorites. Because so at the beginning, I really feel like there was a stage of when I just needed to be motivated, just to like go through. So if you're in a stage that you just get to be motivated and you're feeling heavy, I feel like doing like I did mirror work and I listened, like every day I would be listening to like Abraham Hicks and Louise Hay and Dr. Wayne Dyer to reprogram my mind. So working through that and then discovering neurolinguistical programming, NLP, and getting certified, it helped me to understand the subconscious mind so much more. So that would be like on the mind level. And then the next step would be more of like reconnecting with my body, reconnecting with myself. So doing inner child healing and somatic work like Reiki and meditation and also breath work. Breath work was really life-changing for me. When I experienced it for the first time, I'm like, oh my gosh, what is this? Like, I was like freak out, like what it can do in one session. So I also become certified. And then inner dance, which is Kundalini activation process. It's another beautiful modality that helps you reconnect to yourself, rewrite your mind. And I feel like those were the most important and what I'm still using. I don't do breath work right now because I'm happy I can just breathe. Nope.
Just breathing is the challenge when you're that
Oh my
pregnant.
gosh, you have no idea. So right now
Yeah.
I'm happy I can be just breathing, I'm still leading, my clients through the breath work, and it's one of the most beloved and powerful modalities for me because it can shift so much and so quickly on subconscious and really deep level. And another modality that I started to study 5 years ago was human design. Human design really brought me back to myself, understanding there is nothing wrong with me, understanding that each of us, it's completely unique, and this life, it's experiment to be, like experienced. So I feel like those are really like the biggest one: breath work, inner dance, and really the human design are the things that brought me back to me. And anyone can do that, and meditation, that's like my daily must. It's a must. Like, even when I'm feeling like really physically tired, close my eyes, put my headphones, and between calls or interviews, doesn't matter if I have 10 minutes, 30 minutes, 1 hour, I have my playlist of meditation. I choose the time, and it helps me to stop thinking and stop just like go, 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 come back to my body, reconnect, and just relax on such a deep level.
I always hear it's like a powering down, like our phones sometimes just get like overloaded and we need to just power down. And when I heard meditation explained to me like that, it was like a light bulb moment. This makes perfect sense. Of course, we have to stop and tune out and tune in.
Well, and I'm excited to hear after your birthing experience how all of these tools can totally have a place as you're going through labor and delivery and healing and all of those things as well. It's interesting sometimes how we collect all these tools and don't know how they might show up in our life. Like, we might have an intention to do this with it, and all of a sudden there's like opportunity, like delivering a baby, however that experience goes for you, where these things can also be used during those very deep spiritual processes.
We're definitely planning on that. Like our intention is to do home birth in water and also doing hypnobirthing. We did hypnobirthing classes. So we're bringing all of this together, and this is another thing that I'm rewriting for my family, because women in my family were never supported. They never had a man who would hold their hands. Like my grandpa, when, my grandma had my mom, he was drinking in a pub instead of like being in a hospital with her, and my mother wasn't supported by my biological father either. So me knowing I have a partner and husband who is so devoted and so supportive, and again, it's completely different, and all of everything that I have learned for this lifetime, and I feel like lifetimes, comes together into this beautiful, it's such a powerful like rite of passage for women. And I feel like so many of us are like robbed by it because we are living in a fear. I had so much fear of birth and pain, and can I do that? But that was all conditioned. That was all the stories. Have you ever seen a mainstream movie when woman is birthing with ecstasis, or forget ecstasis, right? Like, who is birthing like gently? It's always screaming and pushing and,
Sounds like they're being murdered or something.
Exactly.
Well, it's interesting because just the other day we were talking about female situations like getting your period and things like that. I have 2 daughters and a son, but I'm raising 2 females as well. And we started talking about birthing and these sort of things. And my daughter, who just turned 13, said, you know what? Because my mom and I were in the car speaking about our birthing experiences, and we wanted them to hear this and ask questions. And it was such a fun conversation. But the 13-year-old says, I still don't understand why women lay down on tables to birth. Why are they not standing up? And I'm like, well, that's because this is it's for the convenience of the doctors and the nurses. If you're laying down, they can stick all the things in you. They can wipe, anything that might come out, clean it up quickly, those types of things, access to the baby. They can get a better handle. when you're standing up, you're free to roam. It's like thinking about like free roaming chickens, right? They're just kind of all over the place. And it's like, I got to but naturally, gravity would show us that a much better position would be to work with gravity and let that baby come down. So I love that you have actually been in training for this, with all these tools that you've collected, like I said, for this moment. And however that moment goes, because experiencing 3 births of my own, sometimes we have these romantic ideas of it's going to go exactly like this, but just moving with that process. I think it's really cool, though, that so many of your past traumas have been healed throughout your life so that you can now have this sacred moment so that this beautiful soul that's coming through will make her way however it's supposed to go, but yet you've healed so much that could be blockages, and stop things from happening as smoothly as they should. So it's such an exciting time.
Thank you. Thank you. And, it's so beautiful that your 13-year-old has such a powerful questions, and that she's questioning the status quo.
Right. Questioning society. I like it.
But I never thought about it until I became pregnant. I'm like, it really doesn't make sense for you to lay on your back and put your feet out. But I didn't know what I know now. And that's what's happening, and that's how you're also helping with your show and your podcast, bringing all of these guests and stories and things that make us think differently and shift our perspective. And, I never heard about hypnobirthing before. I didn't pay attention. And then friend of my husband, they were pregnant 8 weeks before us, and they're like, hey, have you heard of hypnobirthing? I was like, no. And it opened up floodgates of new books, and again, following the breadcrumbs, listening to your intuition. Where are you being guided?
I love it. Remaining open to the information. I think so many of us have lost the valuable information of our ancestors going way, way, way back when we were more connected. And so it's like we're watching this all emerging again. And it's so important to be receptive and open as you are. I had never heard of hypnobirthing. I had my kids a million years ago. So it kind of makes me like, oh, I wish I could have experienced all of that. I think it's beautiful and so much really more natural in the way that we were meant to experience womanhood.
I feel like it's going back to the nature, it's going back to the basics. And I love that, it doesn't have to be complicated. It's reconnecting to your roots, reconnecting to yourself, reconnecting to your intuition. And it can be easier than when we're doing what we're told we should be doing.
Yes. I remember there was this show on TLC called The Baby Story, and I would watch it over and over, every single, I just felt like I needed to learn as much as I could by watching these other women give birth. And some of those women, when I ended up having my babies, it was nothing like that. You don't need to scream at the top, bloody murder. There's, breathing is so important.
Yeah.
So
it is. Well, I love how the last thing that you just talked about reconnecting to you and bringing it back to the intuition, because that's really kind of how we started this talk today, was talking about listening to what's inside, and following that, and knowing that when you have a calling, to do the work that you're doing, for us to do the work that we're doing, this is part of why our souls came here, right? We are here to do this work, to share stories, to change lives, to touch others. And so we are just so happy that we got connected, and we're so happy. You are a beautiful soul. I mean, just looking, we can see the glow of who you are. And we're just so excited to be able to be here today and have this time to connect with you. And I think there's probably more that we're going to want to talk about at some point. Just a birthing experience. We haven't even had anyone on the show yet about birthing, and that's such a beautiful story of creation, right? So
you talked about so many things that we would love to have you back on. This is such a gift. And I just want to know from you, I'm sure you're going to be taking some time off very soon, but like, what is your time frame? When do you think you're coming back? What are you going to be offering your customers, these other women that are feeling inspired by you?
I love that question. And right now I am, in a couple of weeks, I'm going on maternity leave. Whenever she chooses to come, that's up to her. Like, I'm planning to leave in a couple of weeks and stay like off couple months connected to my clients. So still working with my one-on-ones, and we are planning to come back in October. Sometimes it depends when she comes to how long we stay home. And I'm really focusing on, and something that is running even when I am on pregnancy leave, it's our mastermind, Richly Rewarded Mastermind. And that is for women who want to be abundantly paid for their gifts, who want to have the support and nurturing on not only on the masculine side, on how to do things in your business, how to run your social media, and how to, build your business from the ground up, but also having that nurturing feminine energy, working with the energetics, working with your intuition. So me and my husband, we created this mastermind because he's a master coach too. And we're supporting women on both these levels to know what step and strategies to take and how to stay connected to your intuition, to your truth, using somatic healing, using, breath work, human design, and NLP and beautiful modalities. So I'm happy to share link for that for you, because that will be running even when Petia it's running with the baby.
Oh, you'll be running. Yeah.
And then coming back, I really love doing one-on-one. That's where my heart really is. Our mastermind, it's really small, intimate group. And then I love one-on-ones and really helping women activate their abundance and walking in their purpose. So that's what I'm focusing on when I'm coming back.
Wonderful. Well, how beautiful for us to be connected to you. As Michelle had said, it does feel like such a blessing, and everything you shared is just a wealth of knowledge and information for our listeners. And so I love that we can open each other up, on this platform and get your knowledge out there to our listeners. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me and for everything you're really doing. Like I said, your show, it's so beautiful and so inspiring. And I know that when we share our stories, we inspire other people to share theirs and walk in their purpose. So I'm really thankful I could be here today with you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Petia.
Thank you for tuning in to today's episode. If you liked what you heard and we're your girls,
please share and add a review on iTunes so we can continue to grow our circle. You can also find us on Instagram and TikTok at That's My Girl Podcast.